Alright guys, so I got the engine cover installed. I put everything back together. So now I'm gonna raise up the vehicle so we can test the O2 sensor wiring. After we test the wiring, if everything tests out okay, then we're gonna replace the sensor. So now let's go under the vehicle. We are here under the vehicle. This over here is the driver's side bank, and over here is the passenger side bank. So this is bank 2 and this over here is bank 1. So if we follow this exhaust pipe, so this is sensor 1. So if we follow this pipe comes across and all the way over here. So this over here is the second sensor on bank 1. So we're gonna test the wiring of the sensor before we replace it. So here is the wires of the sensor. So now we're gonna back probe these wires. So I'm gonna undo these zip ties over here. Alright, so here's the wiring harness. So the two wires that look the same, the wires with the same color, are the wires for the heater. So these two white wires are the wires for the sensor heater, and then the gray wire and the black wire, one of them is going to be the sensor signal, the other one will be sensor ground. So I'm going to back probe these two white ones first. I'm going to back probe both of them, and then we're going to use a test light between the two wires to see if the heater is being energized. We're going to use a scanner to turn on the heater. So I'm gonna back probe these two wires and then I'll bring you guys back up. Alright, I'm gonna show you my setup over here. I disconnected the O2 sensor. Now I'm bypassing the O2 sensor heater with my test light. So I'm back probing the O2 sensor heater wires over here on the harness side. So I'm sending both wires to the test light. So one wire is on this side of the test light and the other wire is over here on this side of the test light. So when I turn on the heater, if the heater circuit is good, this test light should come on. So now let's use our scan tool to turn that on. So let's go to output controls. Let's go to O2 sensor bank 1 sensor 2 heater percentage. So I'm gonna turn this on. Man, it's not letting me. I don't know why it's not letting me do that. So O2 sensor bank 1 sensor 2 here. So I'm gonna increase the percentage. Oops. So for some reason it's not letting me turn on the heater with the scan tool. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to start the vehicle. Let's start the vehicle and see if the test light will come on. So let's go inside the vehicle and start it. I'm gonna have to lower the vehicle a little bit. Now I'm gonna go inside the vehicle and start the engine. When I start the engine computer will try to energize the O2 sensor heater to get the O2 sensor to reach operating temperature faster. Okay, so right now we're testing the O2 sensor heater. I'm bypassing the heater with this test light. Since I couldn't turn on the heater with the scan tool, we're gonna start it to see if the computer is gonna turn on the heater. Once the computer turns on the heater, this test light will come on. Okay, it's gonna come on or it's gonna flicker. So watch the test light as I go inside the vehicle and start the engine. Alright, so right there, as you can see, the test light is flickering. Let me zoom you guys in so you can see. So right there, so the test light is flickering. So this tells me that the heater circuit is good. So the computer is trying to turn on the heater for this sensor. So the heater circuit is good, okay? As you can see, the light is flickering, so we're good. So now I'm gonna turn off the engine so we can test the other two wires. So our heater circuit is good. The test light came on when we started the vehicle. So now I'm gonna disconnect these two test leads so we can get our test light out of the way. So we are done with the test light. So we can put the test light back over here. So now we're gonna use our back probing tools to now test the signal wire of the O2 sensor. Okay, so we tested these two wires, so now we're gonna test these other two wires. I can't really see the color because these wires are so dirty, so we're gonna back probe these two. One of them is gonna be the sensor signal and the other one will be sensor ground. Okay, so I'm gonna get our lab scope set up and then I'll bring you guys back up. So I got the other two wires at the O2 sensor connector back probed. Okay, we checked the heater wires, they're good. So now we're gonna check the sensor ground and the signal wire. So we're gonna use this lab scope test lead to test these wires. So I'm back probing the first wire first, the white one. I don't know which one is the white one. I didn't look at the wiring diagram, so based on the voltage we're gonna have on that wire, I will know what wire is that one. So now let's go to our lab scope. I have my black lead on the lab scope connected to ground, chassis ground. Actually, no, we can just do a multimeter. Let's just do a digital multimeter. Okay, so this is our ground wire. Okay, so we are reading minus 0.02 volts because our test leads are just backwards. So this is ground, so we're good here. The key is on inside the vehicle, so we're good. Okay, our ground is good. So now we're gonna switch to the other test lead, to the other back probing tool. Okay, so this over here should be our sensor ground, our sensor signal. And the sensor signal should be, I believe, 400 millivolts. So let's connect to this and see what we got. So key on, look at what we got. We got 0.4 volts, so 0.39 volts, so 390 millivolts. So this is good. This tells us that the wiring is good, so from the computer down to the sensor, everything is good. So the ground is good, the signal is good, so the problem is the sensor. So we're dealing with a bad O2 sensor. So now I'm gonna go ahead and replace this sensor. So this sensor over here has to be replaced. Okay, so I'll get a new sensor and then I'll bring you guys back up. Alright guys, so I got the new O2 sensor. Here is the part number. So this is the sensor we're gonna install. So now I'm gonna disconnect my back probe tool over here. So we're good to go. Our wiring is good, so we can go ahead and replace the sensor. So let's undo the sensor. Hopefully it's not too tight on there. Okay, right there. That's good. It came out pretty easily. Alright, so here comes the old O2 sensor One thing I want to mention is after replacing this O2 sensor, we have to reset the sensor here in the computer, okay? Because what happens is over time, the resistance of the heater inside the sensor changes, and the computer pretty much learns the value of the heater as it gets old. Now, if you just replace the sensor and don't reset the heater inside the computer, what's going to happen is that an old heater in the O2 sensor will tend to draw more current than a new one. Okay, so if a new one requires less current but the old one requires more current, the computer is not going to know that the sensor was changed. So it's going to keep sending the same amount of current to the new heater, okay? And what that's going to do is it's going to damage the new heater inside the new sensor, okay? So it's going to shorten the life of the new O2 sensor, okay? Just something we should keep in the back of our minds. I'm gonna install this one. So it looks identical to the one we just removed. And the good thing about this sensor is that it came out pretty easily and it's not really hard to get to, which is pretty good. Alright, so that's tight. So now we're gonna move this wire around. We have to make sure that the wiring over here is not twisted up. Okay. So this is good. The sensor is installed. So we're gonna reconnect it. So the sensor is reconnected. Everything looks good. So I'm gonna zip tie it along this wiring harness over here to get this wire out of the way. And then I'll bring you guys back up so we can lower the vehicle and reset the sensor here on the computer. And then we're gonna take this for a test drive. Alright guys, so I have zip tied the O2 sensor wire against the harness over here. So it's zip tied and out of the way. So it's away from this catalytic converter over here. So everything is good. So now I'm going to lower the vehicle so we can reset the O2 sensor here. We're going to clear the codes. I'm also going to replace the fuel cap. And after that, we're going to take the vehicle for a test drive. So now let's do that. I'm going to lower the vehicle and then I'll bring you guys back up. So I have lowered the vehicle. Everything is back together. I also replaced the gas cap. Here is the part number for the gas cap. Okay, so I already installed it. I put a new gas cap there. So now let's go inside the vehicle and erase the trouble codes. So I'm going to turn the key on. Let's bring up our scan tool. So let's go to output controls first. We're going to reset the O2 sensor here. So we're going to go to O2 sensor here, learn, reset. So we're going to click on that. We're going to continue. Okay, so we're going to reset all of them. As you can see, we have some amperage reading over here. So we're going to click on reset. Right here. Reset completed successfully. So that's good. Okay, now our new heater is now gonna get burnt prematurely. So we're gonna go to codes. Let's look at the codes again before we clear them. As you can see, we have 4 trouble codes. So we're gonna back out and clear the codes. Let's go to clear codes. So we cleared the codes. Let's read them again. We shouldn't have any code right now. So no codes present. So we are good. So now we're gonna look at the data. Okay, so let's do sensor data. So we're just interested in the O2 sensor data PIDs. So we're gonna select these 4 O2 sensor data PIDs. We're gonna list them. I'm gonna graph all of them. Okay, so this 400 millivolts is the bias voltage that the computer sends to the sensors. And right now, as you can see, just right now, engine off, they're both mirroring each other. Okay, all of them pretty much. So now I'm gonna start the engine. So right now the check engine light should be off. As you can see, the check engine light is off, so we're good. So now let's go close the hood so we can take this vehicle on a test drive. So I'm gonna close the hood. All right, so let's take this vehicle for a test drive. Alright guys, we are back here at the shop. As you can see, the check engine light is still off, so we're good to go. This is fixed. So now I'm gonna bring up the scan tool so we can look at the data one more time before we wrap up this video. As you can see, all the sensors are basically mirroring each other. The ones on bank 2 are mirroring the ones on bank 1, so we're good. This one over here is the one that was flagging the code before. And when I was driving, I was actually watching the graphs as I was driving, and these two sensors were mirroring each other. So this is good. This tells me that this problem is fixed, okay? So I'm gonna back out of here. You might have a question about the Evap system to see if the Evap code is fixed. Now, I'm pretty sure it is, because usually what I see that causes the Evap small leak trouble codes to be set is sometimes people tend to not close the gas cap all the way, and if the gas cap is slightly open, it can allow vacuum to leak out. That can be a problem, or that can cause Evap small leak codes to be set. I went ahead and replaced the fuel cap just to be safe. We can go to the generic side of the tool and see if the Evap monitor has run already. I don't think it has run yet, because you know there are certain conditions that have to be met before the Evap monitor can run. So I don't think the monitor has run already, but let's just check to see. So monitor is complete. Monitor is complete since DTC cleared. Let's check those and see what we got. So Evap, yeah, Evap system not complete. Okay, yeah, so this is, I knew this wasn't completed because this has to be run, and there are so many things that have to be right for this system to run. Okay, I mean fuel level in the tank, temperature, and all that good stuff. So I'm not gonna worry about the Evap system right now. I'm gonna deliver this vehicle. This is fixed, okay? If the Evap code comes back, I hate Evap codes. If the Evap code comes back then I will deal with it then, but I will tell the driver to keep an eye on it, and then we will see. So this is good, guys. I'm gonna turn off the engine so we can wrap up this video. So I'm gonna leave it right over here. I hope you liked the video. If you did like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give it a thumb down. But if you do, you gotta tell me why so we can make better videos in the future. If you have any comments, questions, criticism, leave them in the comment box. And if this is your first time here, subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell so you can get notified every time I upload a new video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.